Welcome back to Talking Wolves. We're here for another match preview today, guys, as Wolves host Crystal Palace at Molineux. It feels like it's a rare midweek game. Doesn't feel like we've had many of those this season, but it's always great to watch Wolves under the lights, especially at Molineux Stadium. So really looking forward to it and hoping that Wolves can bounce back after a disappointing defeat against Leicester City on Saturday, which I'm sure we'll touch on today. As always, though, guys, be sure to hit the like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're very, very close to 15,000 subscribers. And do let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below ahead of this game as well. But yeah, like I said, it was a really disappointing game on Saturday for Wolves. Really hoping we can bounce back because the first 20 minutes or so, Wolves played some really nice stuff, some really decent football, and obviously after the penalty got given, we just fell apart and allowed Leicester to come back into the game and ultimately get all 3 points. But this week's opponents in Crystal Palace is going to be a little bit of a different challenge. They're a tough team, but Wolves have been very good at home recently, especially under Lopetegui. We've kept a lot of clean sheets. We've beaten Spurs, keeping a clean sheet, beating Chelsea, Brentford keeping a clean sheet as well. So Liverpool, we've picked up some great wins, but we have dropped points against teams such as Bournemouth and Leeds, which are teams around us in the league. So I'm really hoping that isn't the case on Tuesday evening against Palace as well, who obviously have had similar fortunes to us. So I would say similar to us in terms of they've got a good side, but just really struggled to get some sort of consistency. The one thing as well, obviously they had Patrick Vieira, who lost his job earlier this season. I saw many fans, not just Palace fans, neutral fans, raving about him last year, and I just couldn't figure out why, because I think Palace were probably about where I expected them to be anyway. Saw the same sort of comments earlier this season, and obviously it just sort of went downhill quite sharp for him, and brought Roy Hodgson in again, which was a questionable appointment, but he started it off really brightly for Palace. Obviously, they drew 0-0 last weekend, but some of their attacking performances since Hodgson has come back into Palace have been very, very decent. Having a huge amount of shots in a couple of games, beating Leeds so comfortably. I think it was 5-1 a few weeks ago as well. So they're going to be a difficult team to play at Molineux, but I'm hoping our strong home form can play into our hands and we can, try and get something out of this game, because I think a win for sure will pretty much secure our Premier League safety for this season. I just want that to be done sooner rather than later so we can stop having the discussions about it, really. Of course, in regards to team news, the big talking point after Saturday's game was Mario Lemina coming off, Ruben Neves coming back on. It's so crazy that, if we were talking about Ruben Neves this time a few weeks ago and saying we were going to be having these conversations, you wouldn't believe it. But a lot of people pinpointing the downfall on Saturday to Mario Lemina coming off. The substitutions weren't great by Lopetegui, but ultimately, he had to do what he had to do, and especially if Lemina was injured, I think Neves was obviously the best midfielder to bring on in that case. But he's had his pre-match press conference today. It sounds like Lemina, the injury isn't as bad as we first thought. And there is going to be a check on him in the morning to double check he's going to be okay for this game. There is one small problem with another player who's unnamed at this point. Lopetegui didn't bring any names up. So we'll have to keep our eye on that one as well. So we really don't know who that may be at this point. But let's go into my predicted lineup. Again, I feel crazy for even thinking this, but I'd probably try and start the same team that we saw at the start of Saturday. I thought some of the movement of the ball, the play in general, was our best that we've seen for a long time. So where possible, I'd try and keep this team as close as it will be. But I think with Lemina obviously possibly having a knock, Neves could come back in. You could easily see possibly somebody like Podence, who did start that Chelsea game, coming back in maybe for Sarabia. But other than that, I think that's probably the side that you're going to be looking at, something very, very similar to this. But Lopetegui may change things, but I think based on what we've seen, based on the consistency, based on the quality of football that we've seen over the last few weeks, these are the group of players that have given that to us as Wolves fans, and I'm really hoping that we could see some sort of winning ways come back. And like I said, 3 points on Tuesday at Molineux, that should seal our safety for this season. Very quickly as well, before we move on to the opposition preview, we have got a Betmate pot out for Tuesday's games. It is the Premier League Tuesday treble, just the 3 games in it, which is Wolves, Palace, Villa, Fulham, Leeds, Leicester. It's £5 to enter for your chance to win win from the £400 prize pot. My team is here on the screen. We're going with Emi Martinez in goal, Castagna and Christensen both from Leicester, at the back, with Douglas Luiz in the midfield with João Gomez, and Ollie Watkins up top with Mateus Cunha. A link to join is in the top of the description. If you use the code TW10, you will get a £10 bonus as well. And as always, please do gamble aware, 18 plus and UK residents only. But I had the pleasure of speaking to D from the Back of the Nest YouTube channel. He's a big Crystal Palace fan and got his thoughts on the season so far and what we can expect from Palace this week. So then, D, thank you for jumping on Talking Wolves again, man. Palace coming to Molineux. It's been some close games between both of these teams. Palace seem to be edging it a little bit, though, especially last season. Obviously, beat us at Selhurst Park. Firstly, how are you doing, man? How are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'll be honest, it's reached that point of the year where it's like, season, is it worth it ending? Should I look up the table? It's just like, come on, let's just finish these run of games and like focus on next season. But yeah, I've been fine. Thank you for having me on, Dave.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Yeah, I've been like that for the last few weeks. You know, Wolves put themselves in a slightly better position, but I just want it to be over now. Make sure we're definitely a Premier League team and look ahead for next season. I suppose that's the same for Palace. Had a pretty similar situation to Wolves all throughout the year. Inconsistency, a change of manager as well. But what's been the thoughts sort of from your point of view, for the Palace fans' point of view on this season? Has it been a disappointing one? Are you about where you expected to be? What are your thoughts so far?
Hugely disappointing. You saw us last season on the Vieira. Many neutrals did as well. It was like a new Palace, a Palace that we haven't seen before. Change of managers, Roy Hodgson, get rid of him, bring in Patrick Vieira. Funny enough, we're going to talk about Hodgson once again because we're back to square one. But you know, we had a good FA Cup run, played some good football, and we basically had the negatives in the first season under Vieira of, you know, it's a new manager. We just have to adjust 1 or 2 things, but things will improve. It was a fantastic season, but this season just being a huge disappointment due to the fact that we didn't build on last season. And it starts from recruitment as well. I mean, last season, Conor Gallagher, that everyone spoke about, they knew how influential he was for Palace and the role that he played. We didn't replace him. We still haven't replaced Aaron Wan-Bissaka at the right back slot. And there's been, you know, a striker. We got rid of Benteke. You might say, oh, it's only Benteke. There's not much replacing that's needed. But still, as an option up front, we still didn't replace him. So it's been a frustrating season. It started from recruitment. It went down to the manager as well. I've really rated Vieira highly, but it seems like towards the end of times before he got sacked, he was, you know, seriously considering his future at the club. Apparently, he was on the verge of applying for the Leeds job whilst he was a Palace manager, which was kind of crazy to hear. But I think his explanation for that is basically something along the lines of, well, Palace are not offering a new contract, so I need to look at my future. Look, it was a shambles. This season's been an absolute shambles. It was time to kick on, and we didn't do that. But yeah, as long as we're safe, which we should be now. We just have to rebuild in the summer and just make sure we don't make the same mistakes.
So what do you think happened with Vieira? Then obviously he had a torrid end, really struggling to grind out results. Was it? Do you think the World Cup break, or were there issues even before the World Cup had started?
Before there were issues. I mean, we lost to Everton 3-0 literally before the World Cup. We also lost to Forest 1-0 when they were struggling and we had no shots on target in that game. So there were issues, but it's a combination of things. It's just not purely on the players. It's not just purely on the manager. I mean, before he left, we went 3 months basically without a win. Last win was in, I think, Boxing Day against Bournemouth, and then we didn't win a game till basically Leicester in April, which was kind of crazy. But in the run of games, we had the most difficult fixtures you can ever imagine of. Right now, that's why we got all the teams that's below us in the last 10 games. We faced the likes of Arsenal, Man City, we faced Man United twice, faced Brighton, faced all those teams. Tottenham, you can say, is that really difficult? Questions you can ask about that, especially after the most recent result against Newcastle. But yeah, we had a different run of games to most sides. I mean, normally you would face a side that is below you here and there, but we just didn't have that. We just had absolutely chaos in terms of fixture list. So yeah, I think the players maybe gave up as well. There was players low of confidence. So I think that goes down to the manager. I mean, likes of Eze, he wasn't really playing him as much, and he's been one of our most important players in the last 3 or 4 games. Zaha, he kind of dropped off as well. So I feel like things got a bit stale, got a bit predictable, got a bit stale. And as I said, the fixture list played a part to that. Injuries played a part. Vieira played a part. So I can't just issue on one thing. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the manager, because the manager's responsible for all things. And regardless of the fixture list, you're expecting a win here and there. And we simply didn't get it. And we had some negative performances, especially going in attack wise. We've been solid defensively all season long, but in attack wise, we were just absolutely dreadful for like 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of managers, all managers pretty much have a shelf life, don't they? And obviously, some are just over a year. Obviously, we saw that with Bruno Lage, Vieira, obviously about just under a year and a half as well. But Roy Hodgson's the man that has come in. I think obviously it surprised me as a neutral. I'm not sure what your thoughts were, but he's actually got you guys playing some football that I really didn't expect you to get. You know, the first game back, I think it was against Leicester, 30 plus shots. The Leeds game where you absolutely went behind, but absolutely ended up smashing them. But what's been your sort of thoughts and opinion on him so far? Were you surprised when he came in as a caretaker boss?
Yeah, I was surprised, but it was like the most Palace move as well. So part of me is like, oh, here we go. Like that's the best we can do. I was surprised due to the fact that the reports came out suggesting that the Palace board were seriously considering sacking Vieira last year in February, which is absolutely bonkers to me, because last year we had a very good season and we had an FA Cup run. So how was you considering sacking him? But that was where my frustrations came from. It's like if you was thinking about sacking someone at a job and you had 13 months, and in that 13 months the best you can think about is Roy Hodgson, that was too negative for me. But saying that, when Roy Hodgson did join, I was 50-50 about it in terms of whether it will work or not, because Roy Hodgson hasn't been a complete of a mess at Palace. I know when he left us before Vieira, it was just awful in terms of football results. It was just getting so boring and predictable. But when he first joined us, it was actually some decent football, the football that we're seeing right now at Palace. And I guess back then he had the players, and towards the end of time, he just had one of the oldest squads, if not the oldest squad in the Premier League. So it didn't work out. So, Roy Hodgson, ever since he's come back, he's basically kept it basic. I think we're a bit more direct than under Vieira, but we're still very good defensively. So that attribute hasn't gone. But also, we, as you said, Leicester, 30 shots, unbelievable. Leeds scoring 5 goals away from home. I know they've been struggling as of recently, but we started that in a way, because before our game, they were high of confidence. And I remember talking to Leeds fans, they were saying, we're going to stay up, all this and that, and things have changed after that. So yeah, we're unbeaten ever since Roy's joined. 3 wins and 1 draw. So picking up 10 points out of potential 12, you can't really complain about that. No one really expected us to pick up that many points so soon. But as a short-term appointment, in hindsight, looking in now, it seems like it's a good move to the end of the season. But we have to make sure we don't make the same mistakes as a football club, because recruitment this season, we just wasn't good enough. We brought in 1 or 2 good players, but apart from that, we still haven't strengthened the areas that we desperately need to strengthen for the past 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, to be fair, I know obviously I suppose for a Palace fan's point of view, especially at the start of when Hodgson joined, it probably felt a little bit underwhelming, but Palace seem to have got it bang on. We spoke a little bit earlier on before we started about Spurs and their whole situation, even Chelsea as well. Clubs of that stature should really be getting in, especially Spurs are in the top 4 when Conte was sacked. If they got in a half decent manager or someone that knew what they were doing, they could have easily held on for the Champions League. And now it looks like that's not going to happen. Hodgson's come in. I'm 99% sure that you're going to be a Premier League club again next season. What's the future plans? Is there anyone close to becoming manager? I think I saw a name last week, but is there anyone in your eyes or that you've heard that looks like they're going to be becoming Palace's manager in the summer?
So yeah, I guess that's the most exciting thing about now to the end of the season, because there's a lot to talk about with Palace, especially with managers, because we're linked with a new manager every other day. So last week, I think you was talking about the Adi Hutter rumors. There was reports coming out saying that he's basically signed for Palace, like he's the next Palace manager, and we was like, what on earth is going on? Like, how did this all of a sudden happen? We was linked with him before when Vieira first got sacked, but it kind of escalated out of nowhere. But then reports got rubbish by our chairman, who literally came out on Twitter and just said, like, I haven't even spoke to the guy. He's probably a nice bloke, but he's not joining Palace anytime soon. Let's just say that. So there's been a few names that's been mentioned, but it's interesting because even going into next season, club wants to keep Roy Hodgson, not as a manager, but it seems like they want to keep
All right,
him
okay.
at a consultant role or advisory role. It's kind of
I know what you mean.
confusing exactly what they want. So that's what they want to do. I don't know if Hodgson wants to have that role because last time he didn't want it when he left Palace. But yeah, it seemed like Arne Slot from Feyenoord, he's been linked. Adi Hutter, he got sacked by Borussia Mönchengladbach. Also, the likes of Brendan Rodgers, Graham Potter, the usual names. So
Yeah.
I feel like we're waiting out till we're safe, 100% safe, and then afterwards we'll probably see a bit more names getting involved. But the likes of Company or Carrick, they haven't been as mentioned as much as I expected. It's been more of the foreign
Yeah.
managers. So right now we don't know what exactly is going to go on, but it's pretty much just staying up and just taking our time with the manager situation because we've still got a bit of time to appoint a new manager till the end of the season, anyways.
Is there anyone that you like the look of the most? Is there anyone that you favour at the minute to become new manager? Or
It might sound controversial, but Graham Potter from
yeah,
Brighton to Palace, that'll be incredible. I mean, look, he's done a great job at Brighton before he went to Chelsea. Chelsea, we can see it now; they're just a shambles. They're not being run properly, so you're just put in an awful situation. But he knows the Premier League well. Maybe he needs
yeah,
a bit of time
hmm
to get his plans across and implement his ideas. But I like the sound of him. The likes of Brendan Rodgers, I'm not 100% sold on because I don't think he's a bad manager. Don't get me wrong, but it seemed like he's got his shelf life in terms of after like a few seasons, things just get stale. And that's it. That's it for him.
yeah,
So for me, Graham Potter is the one that sticks out. But in terms of foreign managers, Arne Slot from Feyenoord. Because
yeah.
I think out of all the managers, him and Graham Potter suits us the most because of how we want to play and the football we want to play. Slot, attacking football, 4-3-3. And that's what we were trying to do under Vieira, but it didn't quite work out. So yeah, out of them two, Arne Slot and Graham Potter. That's the two names. I'll be happy with either one of them.
Be interesting with Potter because it felt like obviously he had a good time at Brighton, but the impression I got, fans took it really badly about him leaving the club to move
Yeah,
to Chelsea. So it felt like they almost burnt the bridges with him. So there's no sort of love lost there anyway. So I think there'll be anyone sort of our position around about in the table right now that needs a manager in the summer. I think Leicester probably going to try and go for him as well. So I think you'd be daft not to even consider Potter, to be fair. But D, in terms of the players at Palace at the moment, we mentioned earlier Zaha's been struggling a little bit of injury, especially the second half of the season. But who's been standing out for you? Who the players that Wolves need to look out for on Tuesday?
Eze. It has to be Eze and the likes of Elise. Eze has been absolutely fantastic. As I said, there were certain players on the Vieira that just wasn't performing and they just disappeared. But ever since Hodgson's come back in, he's given confidence to the likes of Eze's and the Elise's. And Eze's been on fantastic form. Scored apart from the Everton game. I feel like he's coming into this game with his worst performance out of the last 4 games that we've played now. He was a bit quiet for my liking, but then again, I feel like Everton done a very good job defensively to keep him quiet in the first place. But he just, at times, I'm telling you, at times, there's like 3 players around him and he just dribbles past them. Once he has a confidence, he's absolutely unbelievable. And he's been the main man for us. As you mentioned, Zaha has actually been out injured ever since Hodgson's come in. He's only played like 20 minutes or so. And Eze's been the one that's been carrying us with the goals, with the assists, and also the likes of Elise as well down the right-hand side. When both of them are combining, then that is trouble. So I think for Wolves, what you have to do is try to stop them too. But Doucouré in midfield, very underrated player in my opinion. Not many people talk about him. He's like number 6. Very good on the ball, good with interceptions and tackles as well. So yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic for us. So Doucouré and our centre backs, Gahey and Anderson. They've been unbelievable as well all season long. And our defense has been our strong point, and both of them have played a massive part to it. So yeah, there's a few players in different areas of the pitch, but for Wolves' sake, I think Eze is the main man that you need to try to stop.
Is there anyone from the Wolves side of things that worry you going into this game against Palace? Any players that always stick out to you when Wolves are coming up?
Yeah, I mean, the likes of, it might sound a bit weird, but the likes of Diego Costa, I know he's going to cause a bit of trouble at times when we face him due to our physical years, and we've had incidents with physical strikers against our centre halves because we do sometimes get agitated by You know, I remember it was Darwin Núñez who
I remember
headbutted
that.
Joachim
Yeah.
Andersen. Exactly, yeah. So I think Diego Costa's one to look for, and I feel like if the game, if he does start, Ruben Neves, I rate him highly. And there's been questions about his future at Wolves and whether he should be playing or not. But
Yeah.
I feel like that midfield battle when you have the likes of Eze, Doucouré, in there, and it's going to be interesting to see whether Neves is put into the starting lineup once again to combat that them two, because you know that should be the midfield should probably be the most exciting part of this game, especially
sure.
if you start Neves. But yeah, you've also got other quality players there that I could point out, but yeah, them two probably the most due to different reasons.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like I think I said that we did a preview over on D's channel, but it mentioned Lamina as well. And I don't know whether he's going to be fit for this game, but he's done really well in keeping players like that you've mentioned quiet. So it would be interesting to see if he's going to be fit. But score prediction for you, D. What are you thinking going into this game?
I'm probably going to give a different score prediction to what we had on our channel, because I don't know how it's going to go. Every five
Yeah,
minutes it changes. I think it's going to be a tight game. Saying that, I can also see it being an open game in a way that if you guys keep possession and we hit you on a counter attack, then I can see it
for
being an
sure.
exciting game for us. But my heart says 1-0 Palace, but my head says you could also go 1-0 Wolves. I think it could go
Yeah.
either way. I don't think there'll be that many goals involved. But then saying that, if you combine both results together, it's going to be a 1-0, isn't it? Which I don't think will be a bad result for both teams, because at the end of the day, what we really challenge for before the Everton game, or even now, you can make the argument we'll challenge to push, go above Chelsea, and I guess if we beat you guys, we'll go above them. But the most important thing for me is to actually have way more talking points in the Wolves game than we had against the Everton game, because the Everton game was just so boring. That there's nothing to talk about. So in this game, I'm expecting a better performance and a bit more excitement. And to be fair, we've had some good games in the past, in the short-term memory as well, in a reverse fixture last season as well. So I think it should be an exciting game, but I don't really see that many goals, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think a win for either side, even a point, would put a massive leap towards safety for both teams anyway. But D, before we finish off, where can the viewers of today's video catch you in your channel?
Yeah, Back of the Nest on YouTube, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you want to find us. Do Palace content. So if you guys want to go check out what Dave said, or from a Wolves perspective, make sure to check out Back of the Nest, where we've got that preview out as well.
No, thank you very much, mate. And I'm sure we'll have a chat again next season, both home and away, fingers crossed. And yeah, apart from Tuesday, now all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Cheers, man. So big thanks to D. You can check out his Twitter and his YouTube page in the description down below. I appreciate him jumping onto the channel. And yeah, I'm hoping that we do see a positive change from Wolves. It's going to be interesting once again to see us under the lights at Molineux. Looking forward to it, and hopefully a lot of pressure by the end of tomorrow's game. A lot of pressure will be lifted. I'll be giving my thoughts and reaction after the game. We'll have the fans react tomorrow evening as well, guys, and podcast as well will be out probably Thursday morning as well. So keep your eye out for that one. And as always, be sure to hit the like button, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll catch you all very, very soon.